Yes, so Hairless here. Today we're back with Pentatonix. This is their cover of Havana. This was the winner of the recent members poll of which Pentatonix reaction to do next. The original song is by Camila Cabello. It's super famous. It has billions of views on YouTube across both of the videos, the official video and the audio video. I just listened to the song to familiarize myself with it. I did know the main theme because I've probably heard it on the radio hundreds of times, but I did not know the song from start to finish. I wasn't fully aware of what bit would be coming next, where in the song they'd come. There were some surprises in there that I'd either never heard or just had not remembered. It's quite a catchy song, at least the main melodic motif. I'm sure I'll probably get into that later. But a lot of why it's catchy is down to the rhythms. It's a very, very rhythmic song. Pentatonix, they always put their own spin on the songs that they do, on covers, due to their fantastic arrangements. But if it's anything like the original song, even just in terms of overall style, then I'm expecting some funkiness in there, some funky rhythms, that kind of thing. Interesting song. Overall, there are definitely a number of things that I'll be looking out for and seeing what Pentatonix do with them. So let's get straight into it.
Havana, na, na. Half of my heart is in Havana, na, na. He took me back to East Atlanta, na, na, na. Oh, but my heart is in Havana. There's something about his manners, Havana, na.
He didn't walk up with that, how you doing?
When he came in,
He said there's a lot of girls I can do it.
oh, but I can't wait that
I'm doing forever in a minute.
that summer night.
And Papa says he got Milo in him. He got me feeling like, ooh, I knew it when I met him. I loved him when I left him. Got me feeling like, ooh, and then I had to tell him I had to go. Oh, na 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 na.
Okay, Scott's just moved up the octave. We had this really nice repeated sort of dissonant chord. D minor 7. Alright, yeah, there's some really nice things here. So we're going to do our first pause. If you don't want to hear my thoughts or analysis, go to the timestamp. It's the same key as the original song. Pentatonix did not decide to keep in the piano introduction, which is very, very recognizable. Immediately in it, we get syncopations, which sets the tone of that style of music that we'll be hearing in the song. And there's this direct clash here between these notes. Instead, Pentatonix's immediate weapon of choice is Mitch. Mitch's voice, as usual, shock, is perfect for it. And as well, we have Matt. He's got these airy, kind of gritty slides down. And they provide this immediate contrast in a fairly bare opening otherwise. I love that bit of chromaticism, no surprises there. Mitch is run down to his chest voice as well. That's really, really nice. And he then does a kind of very drastic change back to his head voice. As if to kind of bring our focus back to that, and we just had this little intermediary chromatic bit that was just thrown in there. But it suits it really well. And there was also this kind of temporary moment of silence, except for... yeah, Kevin is just going with the very subtle clicks. To me, that chromatic section, although it's very short, it's quite standout. On the repeat though, we don't get it. And I kind of thought we would get it again. It's a nice introduction overall, some very, very pleasant surprises in there. And different to the original song. On Havana, Onana, on Scott's part, I can hear Scott's part twice, as in it's the same part but being played twice, like it's been recorded twice, multi-tracking I guess, just to subtly fill out the sound a bit. If you're listening with headphones, you can hear one part in each ear if you really listen out for it. So onto the first verse, that's with Scott, and it's quite low. I mean, relatively speaking, he easily could have sung it up the octave. That would be very comfortable for his range.
Oh, but my heart is in Havana. There's something about.
So when Kirsty then takes over, it does seem natural for Scott to kind of chime in there with this little vocalization up the octave.
He didn't walk up with that, how you doing?
When he came in.
Kevin's part, I said this is a song about rhythms, and Pentatonix clearly think the same, and they have made rhythms a focal point of this arrangement. Kevin's part is crazy. I'm no beatboxer, but I'd just be so curious to know exactly how each of these many sounds he produces is produced.
Havana, there's something about.
We've got those couplets. That's the tonic, that's the root note, a G. We are in the key of G minor. What he's doing here, that's an actual pitch as well as just the percussive beat-like sound. And there are some other sounds in there. There's like this kind of swooshing sound.
There's something about his manner.
I won't try and imitate it. Ignore what you just saw there. But it must be multi-track because it's happening at the same time as some of these other sounds. This isn't me saying Kevin's part is multi-tracked. As I said, I'm not a beatboxer. Beatboxing completely baffles me. How talented beatboxers are and what they can do, well, crazy. I'm just saying that what I hear, to me it doesn't seem like it should or could be possible by one man alone. Also, the music, again, because of how rhythmic it is, on an individual level, their lines, they don't have a great flow. It's just the song, it's how it is, and it's because of this that the song is so catchy and kind of funky and probably popular. It's a very smart stylistic decision to have the song like this. Because of this, Kevin's part arguably is the most important part for a number of reasons. Another reason for it being so catchy, the melody.
He said there's a lot of girls I can do it.
They're really leaning into this idea of rhythmic funk, I'm gonna call it. These triplets, cha 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 dum bum bum bum. So those first 6 notes, cha 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 cha. Very similar to a hemiola, the same principle. 3 notes played in the space of 2. We saw at the end of the phrase bum 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 bum. So if there are rhythms 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3. As soon as those triplets are done, they go back to normal. They kind of leave us wanting more, this rhythmic variety. Also, they move up to Kirsty now, the naturally highest set voice being the female.
He didn't walk up with that, how you doing?
It's another change from a timbre perspective, alongside this rhythmic melodic change. These two things, they just work really nicely hand in hand, don't they? Speaking of naturally higher set voices, after Kirsty comes Mitch. Mr. Hybrid Mitch working as usual so well with Kirsty here in harmony due to his hybrid style of voice and timbre. Sometimes it just sounds like it could be a woman, other times it could be a man. He has a crazy voice. Their parallel harmony.
He said there's a lot of girls I can do it.
Because they're moving exactly with each other, kind of up and down exactly. It's really interesting. The end of that phrase, it falls on a D chord, accentuated by Matt's D at the bottom. But in this D chord, Mitch, instead of going to this note here, goes to here, creating this augmented chord, which in simple terms just sounds a bit unnatural. The effect that this unnatural sounding chord creates, I think, is a bit of tension. We kind of need to keep listening to see if there'll be a resolution of sorts. And I just mentioned Matt there. I've still only heard him a handful of times, and my assessment remains the same from the first time I heard him, which is that he sounds like an instrument. It's the type of bass sound you want if you're trying to replicate a bass guitar. Very pitch accurate, and that's a non-negotiable for a role like this, with the bass bar often being the harmonic foundation. An example, we can hear him, he jumped up actually fairly high here. Dum, 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 and then up to there.
I loved him when I left him. Got me feeling like ooh.
Another part, it's just written for Mitch. He's so good. Yeah, there's a fair bit going on in this song. It might not sound the most complicated, but it's a very well done arrangement so far, I think. All right, let's carry on.
Tell him I had to go. Oh na 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 na.
Havana, ooh, na, na. Half of my heart is in Havana, ooh, na, na. He took me back to East Atlanta, na, na, na. Oh, but my heart is in Havana. My heart is in Havana, na, 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 na.
We just graduated fresh on campus. Oh, he's fresh out East Atlanta with no manners, yeah.
Well, that was a nice little... there was one thing that I just wanted to quickly listen to again before I forget. Yeah, just there, Mitch. Pretty high. I want to go through it again, so we'll just go back through that second half and see what it's about. Yeah, very, very nice, fun arrangement there. So from where we carried on, it's a short one actually, surprisingly short, 2.5 minutes. So this second half, I was wondering how much kind of growth they'd implement. Often we see a performance grow, especially in the second half, towards the end, towards the climax. Here, we do see growth, but it's very, very subtle. But clear. The lines, the accompanying lines, they're longer. They're playing into this legato, smoother style. We've also got a more extensive range. Mitch and Kirsty are going higher, whilst not overpowering Scott. As we said before, Scott has made the jump up the octave. So him starting off down the octave is obviously to allow for this growth in the form of moving up. And I also like Matt's freedom with his part. And by that freedom, as we just heard there, how do I say it? He's not always singing the notes pitch perfectly. He's doing these kind of really, really subtle, airy slides before arriving at the note's true pitch. It's a very, very cool effect that he's implementing by doing that. And it's much more difficult than it seems. Because now we're talking about pitch more than just notes on the keyboard. We're talking about the notes and the frequencies in between these. I really like that. I call that a Pentatonix-ism. I don't think I need to explain what I mean by that. This could easily come from a Pentatonix Christmas song or something. Very, very a cappella in their style. And that then leads into this bit, which is the bit I was wondering about. It grabs our attention. The bass is removed there. It sounds a bit different. Interesting lyrics as well. That's the part I was wondering how they'd treat, because in the original, this is what we get.
Jeffrey just graduated fresh on campus. Fresh out East Atlanta.
So I was wondering, what will they do here? Will it be a rap of sorts? Would it be a sort of speak singing, halfway between speaking and singing? Or would it be unexpectedly musical? I think the latter. Let's just say I personally prefer what Pentatonix have done with this part of the song. It's very musical. We get homophony. Same words as each other at the same time in the same rhythms, 3-part harmony. Scott at the bottom, Mitch filling in this kind of hybrid role, transitionary role between Scott and Kirsty, who is of course at the top.
Like a traffic jam, I was quick to pay that guy, like Uncle Sam.
And it's mostly parallel movement that I was mentioning before when I said that Mitch's parallel movement with Kirsty resulted in this peculiar sounding augmented chord. Well, here he doesn't do that.
On campus, oh.
At the end of those O's there, Mitch stays on this note. If he moved up like Scott and Kirsty do, then we'd get this chord, which is a kind of completely different chord too. Even though it's just one note that changes, from a harmonic perspective, doing that, it would be simply too different. Having a completely different chord really does change the harmonic progression, and in turn, the overall sound and feel, as opposed to having one slightly peculiar sounding augmented chord.
Bump on a bumper, like a traffic jam, I was quick to pay that guy, like Uncle Sam.
Just really cool, isn't it? A cool performance, a cool arrangement, a cool video. I guess that's a result of just being all about the rhythms. A rhythmically very interesting and groovy bit of music. This whole 3-part harmony section, there's been a clear divide. You have the 3 parts singing homophonically together. They're all relatively high. Then of course you've got the low bass in Matt and the beat in Kevin. Scott moves up to his head voice for the final phrase of that section.
Pay that guy, like Uncle Sam.
Like Uncle Sam. And I feel it's just to really finalise this idea of this divide, that they are higher up. What's Matt's part doing at that point? Well, it's just kind of sustaining through.
Pay that guy, like Uncle Sam.
but he comes off just before they sing that higher bit. So what else happens here if we're thinking about growth throughout the performance? Scott's part has already moved up the octave. We've had the accompanying parts becoming smoother with longer lines and moving up as well. Well, Matt's part, he also moves up the octave now. He's now closer in terms of pitch to all the other parts, so it's kind of like a tighter sound, but shortly afterwards he does move straight back down. So it is a bit short-lived, but a nice bit of variety that a lot of us probably would notice subconsciously but not actively. And then we get the final climax growth moment, Scott just going for it. Before everything else at the end is then removed. And he's gone back down, like at the start. Of course, I could not finish without having a little dive into Kevin's trumpet. I just don't feel I need to say that much about it. I just love it. I remember the first time really hearing Kevin's range, and that was their cover of Imagine. Please check out my reaction to that, card will be up here. That was one of my first Pentatonix reactions and one of my favourites of theirs to this day. Such a versatile member Kevin is. Yeah, what an asset. Well, I don't have too much more to say. That was a cool arrangement. Cool is the word that's coming to mind. Nothing overly crazy. They didn't deviate in style away from the original song too much. In fact, they did the opposite. They kept the style, which is such an important part of it. Probably why it's such a popular song. All about the rhythms. I just think they encapsulated the idea of the song and kind of what it stands for really well. As usual, great arrangement. Great video, great execution. I need say no more. As always, thank you very much for watching. Would appreciate a like and subscribe. If you enjoy my content, want to support me, join the community, vote on polls and get access to exclusive perks, you can join the Patreon linked on the screen or the YouTube membership link below. And I will see you next time.